Song of Susannah is the sixth book in the Dark Tower series, and this review will have full spoilers because you know what? Fuck it. We're this far into the saga, and if you're this far along for the ride, I'm assuming if you're on book 6, you're not waiting on my review anxiously to know whether or not you should pick up the book. You've read the book as well, and you want to know what I thought of all the crazy fucking shit that goes down, baby. Well, I'm going to break it all down for you right now. My thoughts, my feelings, and boys are a lot of them, and they're all positive. Spoiler alert. So this book kicks off with Susannah's separation from the group, the cliffhanger ending of the Wolves of the Kala, and we know that Stephen King exists, Per Callahan exists, in a creation of Stephen King's work, being the Salem's Lot. So their first mission is to find Susannah and make sure she is safe, and they use the power of the Manny and the cave door. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, I couldn't fucking wait to get through this book, so I was reading this a mile a minute, and I think some of the Manny stuff may have gone over my head because I don't think Stephen King is a bad writer, and I don't believe that he would have written it in such a way that I didn't get it. But when I read it, I honestly was like, wait, how does her power work? Who are these people again? But I just powered through it because this is probably the fastest I've read a book of this size. Like, how many pages is this fucking thing? 413. It felt like 150. Like, I don't know if I read it in like a day and a half. That can't be the size of this, but it felt like it. But the point being, folks, is that I was powering through it. So the Manny happened, and they go to New York, and I immediately had trouble following it with that whole Manny thing. But once I got past that, holy shit. Is this thing a thrill ride, top to bottom? We learn that Mia has this, or not Mia, Susannah has this other inside her called Mia, who is this evil entity that is the mother of the Crimson King, Susanna Dean's, and Roland Deschain's hybrid demon child that was used at the summoning circle and the whole elemental thing. So now Susannah has to carry this fucking demon inside her, and Mia's goal is to get her to this place, the Dixie Pig, so that she can be thrust into the care of the Crimson King, so Mia can raise this child, Mordred, to be her own and the successor of the Crimson King. Immediately, I was all over this storyline. I thought it was insane, and like I said, this was a page turner. I was freaking tearing through these. So, and sorry, I sense myself getting into the habit of doing a bit of a rundown there, giving like a summary of the book. I'm going to try not to do that. But the point is, that whole storyline had me gripped, and I was loving it. And I liked the back and forth between Mia and Susannah within her own head. And I thought it was nice to be back in New York again, really like in the grime and grit of it all, because you meet so many great New Yorker characters, like the woman that Susannah has to ask for help, and the people she encounters along the way are all very good little nuanced New Yorker character types and caricatures almost. So that was really, really exciting, and I really liked all of that stuff. And I'm going to get back to that whole turtle that she has in a moment. Let us look back on Roland and Eddie and Jakey Boy's little duty, and that is to track down and find Stephen fucking King while also getting the deed to the lot that the rose is in. And I loved Calvin Tower. I thought he was such a good character, and yeah, Jack Andolini's back and all that. There's a whole shootout, which is insane. But there's so much that happens in this book that is like massive that I need to gloss over to get to like the big points I know you guys want to hear about. But Calvin Tower and what is his little boyfriend's name? I don't know if they're actually boyfriend, but he's got his little friend that's always with him. And the book collectors, I thought they were such good, almost comic relief. Like, I love their kind of suspicions and apprehensions, whereas Calvin Tower was more kind of willing to participate with Roland here. His friend, what is his name? It starts with an A. Let me see if I can find it. And also, I finished this book a while ago. Aaron Deepno. And Stephen King is probably the best author on the planet when it comes to naming characters. Like Roy DePape, Aaron Deepno, Eddie Dean, Roland Deschain. Eldred Jonas. Wizard and Glass really shines with how genius in tone setting King's character names are. I'm going off on a bit of a tangent here, but the character names in King's work are so reflective of the tone and the vibe. I will never get over how perfect of a name Roy DePape is. That is gotta be the greatest name in the history of literature. Anyways, they get the deed to the tower and they find out there are these things called walk-ins. Now this is where you go from hooked to getting full-on snagged, okay? There are walk-ins from King's other literary universes drifting in and out of this town of Maine. And there's a great little moment when Roland is going across the lake on a boat with this guy, and he says, "Are you two walk-ins?" And Eddie and Roland look at each other and they're like, "Are we what nows? Are we who?" And the second they say that walk-in line, I just knew. I was like, whoa. Are they what now? And I knew we were going to be in for a ride. They track down the man himself, Stephen King. And I have such a vivid image in my head of Stephen King coming around the corner, them walking down Turtleback Lane. King comes around the corner, drops the set of toys, stares face to face with his own literary creations as we read this work of fiction that we soon learn is canon in the Stephen King universe. Incredible. So what did I think of Stephen King inserting himself into his own fictional universe? I loved it. I thought it was incredibly well done. I thought it was so unique. I thought it was so cool. I just thought it was... I've never seen anything like it. I'm sure it's been done before. And, you know, I'm not the most well-read guy outside of Stephen King and horror and thriller and fantasy, really. So I'm sure it's been done elsewhere and maybe even better. But the way King did it is what matters here. And I thought he did it like a pro. Gee, I wonder why. It's almost as if he's a professional author. But... the way he did it was so incredible. So then I'm thinking, okay, is Stephen King like God in this universe? Is Stephen King like omnipotent? Omnipotent? Is that the word? Omniscient? I don't freaking know. But Stephen King has so... Is he writing these characters to life? About a million questions kind of race through our minds as we experience this scene. And it's so expertly done. And then when King expresses all these things that are true, and what's so great about it, it's not some fictionalized version of King that we're reading. It feels as if this almost happened. That The Dark Tower is an autobiographical series. That's what this feels like. That The Dark Tower is King's testimony in secret to the life he believes he has lived. I could go on. Anyways, but then that goes even further when Roland puts King under a trance and King tells this story about how basically the secrets of the universe and God is speaking through King, willing him to tell their stories with the encouragement of Roland. And here's what I love. Here's what I love about it all. King, after this whole sequence happens, King kind of reverts back to his normal self. They part ways with Roland and Callahan and Roland and Eddie being sorry, I lost my train of thought. With Roland, what the fuck was I talking about? This scene fried my brain, okay? So it goes... King reverts back to his pre-meeting Roland and Eddie self and just knows he has this new reinvigorated inspiration and will to write the Dark Tower books. And off we go. Meanwhile, Per Callahan and Jake are going to the Dixie Pig. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, so much has just happened. I've just vented so much about this Stephen King scene, which kind of becomes the only thing you remember about the story, because it's been a decent while since I've read it, but I owe you guys this review, which is why I'm doing it now. Better late than never. Callahan goes to the Dixie Pig with Jake, or maybe that happens in the next one. What the fuck am I talking about? Meanwhile, Jake and Callahan go to New York. They place Black 13 in a locker underneath the World Trade Center, assuming it'll be destroyed forever in the 9/11 attacks. Okay, fair enough. And then they go to the Dixie Pig to rescue rescue Susannah. And this ends on the cliffhanger of a frickin' century, with Mordred, the basically king of the underworld. Essentially, they're building him up as the next wreaker of havoc on the planet. Mordred being born, Jake and Eddie storming into the Dixie Pig, guns raised, with Jake having this ominous feeling that no one is getting out of here alive. Talk about a hook for the next book. But we're not done yet, okay, ladies? Postscriptum. I don't even know what that means. Is that the right? Let me see what that word means. Postscriptum is a video game. Postscript is the word I'm looking for. Postscript. Stephen King dies hit by a vehicle in Maine. Pardon me? And that's the end of the book. But I know King must live, seeing as he lived to write the tale of the Dark Tower. Time to read book 7, methinks. As you can tell, absolute masterpiece. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. This book was a thrill ride, top to bottom, creating just pure fantasy that is so utterly inspiring. And, you know, we don't talk about this enough with Stephen King's work. It is so original that it pains me to my core when people say, oh, I can't read Stephen King because I don't like horror. I've got to kill somebody. Stephen King does not just write horror, folks. He writes drama, he writes romance, he writes fantasy, which leads me to Stephen King creates the most spellbinding, mind-bending, world-altering, reality-shaking, I'll get back to that one next video, reality-shaking fantasy you can imagine with this book, and I just freaking loved it. And I love Dark Tower, and I love Song of Susannah. Stephen King, let's fucking go. You are the man. You are the man, Stephen King. Thanks for flippin' watching. Mwah.